Richmond, Virginia. The Ward Center of Richmond, accredited with the International Center for Ward Method Studies in Washington, D.C., specializes in the Ward method of music education. What is the Ward method? According to Father Scaris, the director of the International Center for Ward Method Studies, the great overall objective of the Ward method is to facilitate a solid musical, aesthetic, and spiritual preparation for all children, quickening their mental responsiveness and their powers of self-expression. In specific terms, the Ward method is a comprehensive general choral music education method that provides proper vocal technique and placement, intonation, rhythm, sight singing, music theory, music history, composition, improvisation, and conducting. This method was founded by Justin Bayers Ward for the purpose of teaching American children the extensive music literature of the Roman Catholic Church, especially Gregorian chant. In addition to chant, the music literature comprised in the method includes works by the great composers of Western history, folk selections, international selections, and newly composed pieces. Mrs. Ward was an accomplished musician in her own right and was very financially secure. As a convert to Catholicism, she was influenced greatly by St. Pius X's publication of the Motu Proprio on Musica Sacra in 1903. At the request of Father Thomas Edward Shields, the Dean of the Department of Education at the Catholic University of America, Mrs. Ward collaborated on writing a series of music education textbooks. Mrs. Ward was inspired by his book, Philosophy of Education, especially with regards to active stimulation of a child's curiosity and teaching the progression of concepts from the familiar to the relatively unfamiliar. She was able to study directly with Dom André Macaro, the choir master of Benedictine Abbey of St. Peter at Salem, and the author of Les Nombres Musicales Gregoriques. The timeless art of Gregorian chant, specifically the musical concepts of rhythm and chironomy, are a foundation of her method. She also borrows vocal concepts of pedagogy ideas from the sight singing method of Galen Paris Chevet. Inspired by Father Shields, Dom Macaro, and vocal pedagogy materials, Mrs. Ward set in place a method that is on par with, or dare I say, superior to other music education methods. The Ward Center of Richmond began in 2011 for the students at St. Benedict's School and has since expanded to welcome all children in the Greater Richmond area, thanks to our sponsor, the Greater Richmond School of Music. Our groups are comprised of children from at least 4 different Catholic parishes. When I was asked to teach music at my own children's Catholic school, I asked a lot of questions, I did a lot of research, and things kept coming back to the Ward method. At that time, I had to take a leap of faith, because nowhere out there could I hear people in Book 2 or Book 3 or any of that past that. There were some beginning wards, but there was nowhere I could hear that. So it was an absolute leap of faith. So I went and got certified. You all are very lucky today because you can see where you can be in a couple of years. Today we are going to demonstrate a typical Ward method lesson. Most lessons are 20 to 30 minutes in length and are quite fast-paced. Today we will have breaks between each section of the lesson to explain what musical concept or technique will be covered and why. It encompasses both gross and fine motor skills. Today, we are focusing on seeing and hearing an actual Ward method Book 2 class. Please remember this is a sample lesson. Each lesson is very malleable, according to what you may want or need to cover. The flexibility of the lessons are like an expansion joint in a roadway. Not every component needs to be of precisely equal length and can be malleable to each learning circumstance. In our personal classes, there tends to be more material than I can cover in each chapter. This means there are a lot of resources available to suit your particular needs. The goal. The goal of each lesson in the Ward method is to teach a song. Each chapter in the Ward books contain many songs, so you can pick and choose what you want to use for every lesson. When you first begin, the songs are simple. As the students progress, harder concepts and thus harder music is introduced. Justin Ward board chooses the best folk traditions of many countries, the works of classical and modern composers, and the rich store of the church's liturgical melody. Each song is broken into the smallest learning component and then brought back together at the end of the lesson in the chosen song. Each song summarizes and applies the material presented in the lesson. Beginners must master elements one by one, building as knowledge is acquired. However, the materials available for choice increase as the musical concepts and the repertoire increase. I have chosen today to do a lesson from Chapter 10 in Book 2. These students will have had the word method for 1.5 years to 2 years, depending on how often they meet. Today's song is a portion of the Kyrie from Mass 12. Keep in mind that each section of the lesson assists with the overall goal of singing the final song, the Kyrie 12. Vocal exercises. The first exercise in the lesson is the vocal exercise. Think of it as a vocal warm-up. With the guidance of her mentor, Father John Young, Mrs. Ward incorporates the bel canto vocal technique from Zovansky's book, An Elementary Course of Vocal Music, into the Ward method. It is important to emphasize a clean head versus chest tone. In the beginning, lessons should begin with a hum or a new, sung with correct resonance. I'm going to pick on a big thing here. As you can hear, the students feel the resonance in their facial mat, which is a sign of correct vocal production. Proper vocal technique is critical, and it begins with the vocal exercises. In the first day of the week, you would make sure students know the notes in the solfege. However, you would want to get to the other syllables quickly. We're going to do a short review of the solfege and spend more time with our text. And that section's done. The next portion is the review song or song. This is great to retain previously learned material and or to prepare for performances in an efficient manner. Since we are focusing this lesson on Gregorian chant, we'll sing one of our previously studied selections in modern notation, Yankee Doodle. We'll be using a term, the metrical gesture 2, also known as modern directing. What meter are we in? Elizabeth? We're in binary. Anybody has a time signature? Binary? 2/4 times. So we're going to conduct that. We'll start up. And that section's done. Told you it was fast-paced. The intonation exercise. The purpose of the intonation exercise is to work on vocal intonation or accuracy of pitch. Many of us have encountered adult church musicians who have difficulty with pitch accuracy. By training the young to hear and sing in tune, directors all over the world are thanking you in advance. The word method uses solfege as a tool for learning intervals. Do is represented by the number 1 and progresses accordingly. In Book 1, you use the melodic gesture to work on intonation exercises. It is another tool, similar to Kodai hand gestures, to help students improve their intonation. We're going to show you a scale from Book 1 so that you can see the melodic gesture. One nice benefit to the word gesture versus others is the relationship between the half steps of mi and fa and ti and do. Let's show them the half steps. Mi, fa, do. This is a scale from Book 1. They're way past do to do. The exercise for our chapter for today. And again, this is to assist with the Kyrie. At this point in the word, we're working in sol mode with notes above high do as well as the sol chord. At this point, you will see the quintessential word stick. And while this little symbol, everybody knows that it's word, there's so much more to the method than just the stick, but the stick is brilliant. I'm going to have to lower it for now, if that's all right. I'm going to have to lower it just a little bit more. Can the back row still see? Yeah. Oh, but this is not red and green, unfortunately. You have to look at the stick, all right? All right. If you heard, those of you that know Kyrie well, may have heard some little snippets in there. And usually the children by the end of the lesson will put everything together. Hey, we've already sang that. But we just learned the sol mode, so we're just working with that. Just an escape. There's an escape right there. And the next portion is listening and looking games. Children love games. Teaching ear training and vocal training through games makes it easy and fun. Many musicians do not have this sort of oral training until college music school. Children as young as 6 can do these games. Remember that these exercises have to do with our final selection, the Kyrie 12. So we'll start with a listening game, where I'll sing it on a neutral syllable, and then volunteers will sing it back on the correct solfege. Here's so. We're listening. I'll put it down. Here's so. Joey, here's so. And now we'll go to a looking game, where we'll use the quintessential word stick. Dear soul. And that portion is done. The next portion is the conducting gesture. The conducting portion is where students focus on conducting practice. Early board lessons focus on gross motor skills and our rhythmic gestures. In later lessons, you learn model conducting as seen by our review song today, as well as chironomy. This portion of the lesson, the students can conduct an exercise while singing, while listening, or silently. Having students conduct is one way to reinforce the meter of your selection. For instance, a famous waltz conducting on a recording would be great for a 3/4 time piece that you're learning. Today, since our song is a Gregorian chant, we're going to refresh our chironomy. We're going to conduct patterns from the Christe Eleison portion of the Kyrie 12 while we listen to Mrs. Crafton sing the example. All right, let's take a look at this. Are we in binary or ternary? Peter. Mixed meter. What else do we call mixed meter? No?
Free form or
free rhythm or free form. Okay. Mrs. Crafton is going to be your choir. And actually, if anybody in the audience would like to join me, they're more than welcome to. But we're going to focus on our conducting gestures. So are we singing?
no.
Good breath, okay? And your audience, if they want to join us. Should we make the audience work? Let's do that. No, let's do it one more time. And that portion is done. Creative activities. There are many diverse activities under the creative activity umbrella. You can play call and response games in early lessons, compose and improvise. It is also encouraged to be creative yourself as an instructor, whether tying in other subject areas such as English or history. Today we have a poem provided, and we're going to write a melody to accompany this text. The parameters are such that we're in our new soul mode. All right, let's read the text together. Here we go. And
She who's fairest in my sight, I'll present for your delight.
are we in binary or ternary or mixed? Joseph.
Binary.
We're in binary. Let's go ahead and get our notebooks out and pencils. We're blessed where we have our lessons that we have a dry erase board, so we just come up to the board and do it all together. But we are prepared today to do it in our notebooks, and I can do one over here as well. So we're in binary. Who thinks they can tell me what the rhythm is for line 1? Who thinks they know the rhythm for line 1? Abigail? You're correct that it's a long, because otherwise it would be tight. It would be way too short. We're going to do line 2. Who thinks they can do the rhythm for line 2? Good, very similar. over the bar line. If we're in binary, where are we going to put the bar line? Lily.
After who
Yep.
and after there and my
And one more and then line
double
one.
line after.
Not a double bar line yet, because it's still line one. But hold on to that thought. How about line two? Who do line two? Joey?
One after pre then.
Huh?
One after your
Huh?
and one after and a double bar after my.
Your. We're missing one.
Oh, after
After D, good. And we're at the end when we have double bar line. Okay? We're just crafting cheated and do that for the audience. Very good, well passed. Now, let's say we sent this home as an assignment, and I said that you could do binary or ternary. How could we turn this in? Let's say you were creative and wanted to do ternary. What could you do? Mariana?
put a dot after every first word of the measure.
Sure, you could do it after one, so she, who's fair, or again, you wanted to do it the other way, she, who's fair. Again, that way have sound and melodic, right? A little jump here. So now we're in soul mode. So over here is our cheat sheet with the notes that we can use. Why are some of the notes red? Donald?
Because we're in soul mode, but so they just sound good.
Those notes sound good, yes, they do. We know them. Why do we know them? Elizabeth?
Is more important.
They're the more important ones, and they're the leaps that we can currently sing. Okay, so they will sound better, and they're leaps that we can sing, okay? If you decide you want to compose with a leap, what could make it sound a little better after your leap that would help all of us sing? Tom?
A step.
Do a step afterwards. Good. All right, so we're in soul mode, so if we're in soul mode, what's one rule we want to do for sure? Tia?
Start with so and end on so.
Start with soul and end on soul. So let's go ahead and do that in our notebook. All right, I'm going to give you your soul, and I'm going to see who wants to compose the first two measures. Joseph, here's soul. Almost. Who can help me out? What do you think? I like these things. Joey? La, you think la, which I like it. Let's keep it because I like it. All right? All right? Who can do the next two measures? Right, class. We're on la. Abigail? We maybe we've done all steps. They always choose leaps. And now no one's doing a leap. Could you add a leap to that, maybe? Sure. Okay. I want to do la. One of our red notes may have been a little more melodic at that point, but we'll keep it there. La. Who can do the next two bars? Elizabeth? Okay, good. There we go. So she's ready to go. We'll do the next two. Olivia? Yes?
Yep.
So far. They knew that you had to get from there to there.
Yep.
Now, she could have been she's so, anyway. He is lost. No. All right. Let's all sing our solfege for this. And as you can see my board, the audience can join us as well. Do metrical gestures for you to read it. So, boy did a beautiful job. So, there you go. All right, the next section is the notation portion of the lesson. This covers things like writing notes on the staff or memory flashcards, where you flash a short measure on the board and see who can remember it by singing it back to the class. Today we're going to transcribe from numbers or solfege notation to staff notation, and we're going to be using a modern staff for this particular exercise. Should I make the audience start?
Yes.
Who can tell me where dough is located? Well, there's no, but let's clef. Does dough clef? If you were in trouble clef, you'd be correct.
The legend line below the bottom line.
The ledger, is she correct?
Yes.
She is correct, yes. We're looking on the term ledger line. Very good. However, our first note is not going to be dough. Here's our dough. For those of you in the audience. Here's our dough. Where is our first note going to be? Here? Second line from the bottom. I forgot to talk about our rhythm. What meter are we in? We're trying to
Binary or two-four-time?
four-time or binary, very good. So our first note would be how long? Mariana? 1/4 note. If you were in early ward lessons, it would be a law before they learned the transition to quarter notes. I'll give it a minute to look at this. Who could tell the audience what these dots mean? Olivia?
Long.
Well, it's above the note.
Not the bottom, but the down the top.
Goes above, I know we're above.
If the dots on top are higher, the dots on below is lower.
Correct. But she brings up an interesting point. What if there's a dot next to it? Elizabeth? It's long. How long in modern notation? How long would that note be? 2 beats, you know what I'm saying? That's not very good. All right. I think that's enough time. I did it for you. What? We normally do it together on the board, so there's. How many of you got 100%? 90%. Very good. I'll let you take a break, just so that we have for time constraints, all right? Rob, we're doing it though, we can close our notebooks now. All right. Rhythm patterns. The rhythm patterns portion of the lesson is where you practice patterns and your selected piece in smaller portions. In earlier lessons, it may just be the rhythm itself and no solfege. We have left out the rhythm flashes at this point. You can also just focus on a difficult rhythm, such as the dotted quarter eighth note pattern. Due to the study of Gregorian chant, mixed meter or free rhythm is also common at this level. Again, the rhythm patterns you study are totally adaptable according to the selection you've chosen for the end of your lesson. Let's go ahead and do, as if we were in beginning word 1, let's just do the rhythm with our laws on along. Let's do the first example. Ready and out. Very good. So if you need to just work on rhythm, you can just do that. As they get more talented, you can add more things to that. So we're going to add our solfege to this. Metrical gesture. We're still going to count the rhythm, but we're going to get the notes this time. 1, 2, ready, 3. Very good. And this is how it sounds without expression. We're now going to stand. We'll add our chironomy to that. We'll add our chironomy to that. And it's a little bit quicker so we can make sure we get the one right. Very The next portion is rhythm dictation. The rhythm dictation portion of the lesson is where you sing a musical example to the students on a neutral syllable. The students will then write down or draw in the air the rhythm. If they have paper or individual dry erase boards, they can add the bar line, solfege, and even chironomy. If they do not have their own materials, you can add these elements together on a fret board. Many of us, I know myself, did not have dictation until music school. It is a great tool to reinforce, yet again, the selected song for today's lesson. All right, so here's the notes that we can use. If we're going to do this, what's the first thing we're going to do? Mariana? Yep, your rhythm. Okay, first thing you're going to do is your rhythm. Then what are you going to do? Donald?
Bar line.
Bar line, yep. After that, what are you going to do? Olivia? Solfege the note. And extra bonus point with ice cream on top is what, Kia? Chironomy. Very good. Or you can, if you're in modern, you can do dynamic, things like that. You can always add extra things to that. All right, you ready? If you have notebooks in the audience, you can test yourself as well. Here's anybody in the audience know if we're in binary or ternary?
Binary, right?
Very good. Very good. What does that mean? To be each measure. Who can tell me the rhythm for the example? Who's the rhythm? Peter? More law. Very good. There we go. All right, now we'll do bar lines. So even if for some reason you haven't got your bar lines, if you knew if you were in binary ternary, that might help you out. Donald?
Second bar, fourth bar, after sixth bar,
Yep.
after seventh bar.
Good. You do the double bar as well. All right. Here's the tough part. You know their notes. Abigail? Very good. How many of you have gotten this far? How many of you have gotten this far? All right. I'm going to do it one more time, just in case Mrs. Crafton wasn't singing as best as she could, to check your chironomy. Joey, what do you start with? Very good. You always start with, which helps you out, you always end with. You just got to get those middle for measures. With our CCC, and it'll look a little better up here. How many of you got it correct? Audience? All right. Like I said, many of us have not, musician-wise, did not get to do that until music school. So it's impressive that we have, our youngest here is 8, but even some 6-year-olds can do some of that. All right. Sight reading and singing our song of the day. We end our lesson by singing the song of the day, a portion of Kyrie from Mass 12. We've covered every rhythm, interval, and expression of chironomy in different portions of the lesson. This building block system from the known to the relatively unknown Sight reading is not a bad word, and they usually light up when they start to recognize elements of the song. They definitely think they're smarter than the teacher and are proud of their accomplishments. All right, so let's go ahead. You can put your binders on your feet. Let's stand. We're going to do the whole thing on slow pitch. We're going to triple chest. All right? There's your never done this. 1, 2, 3, 4. Very good. Say Kyrie. All right, we're going to jump ahead and we're going to do our text with our chironomy. And as a bonus, this is what it would look like if we were a chant notation. We've actually learned the entire Kyrie, so we'll sing that for you now. Comprehensive, fun, and rewarding. And there's no breaks in that for them. It goes bing, bang, boom, boom, and you're done. I'd like to compare the word method to some other music education methods. The word method was used worldwide in the early 20th century, and it predates Orff, Kodály, and Suzuki methodology. During her lifetime, Mrs. Ward made the acquaintance of her contemporary Jacques Dalcroze, another founder of the music education methodology. The musical concepts covered in these well-known methods are similarly covered in the Ward method. Ward students go on as comprehensive musicians to use skills learned in the method in other musical areas of their life, such as advanced choirs, instrumentalists, and even school directors themselves. Just by a show of hands, show them how many of you also play an instrument or have played an instrument. And also, we all go to different parishes, so we have some. How many of you go to the Latin Mass? How many of you go to the New Mass in the Reform? So it doesn't. It is comprehensive. It's universal. Music and music of the church is universal. Comparatively, the Ward method is a complete music education method and is at minimum on par with these other music education methods. However, the icing on the cake is that students also get a solid fundamentals in the beauty of sacred music. This is something to which their secular counterparts cannot compare, and in my humble opinion is priceless. How to implement this in your school, your church, or your home school? The first thing you need to do to get the Ward method in your school, church, or homeschool is to get yourself or a teacher certified through the International Center for Ward Method Studies. Not only will you learn from instructors with years of experience, but you'll also get officially Ward certified and have the help and resources of the International Center. You'll also be observed by faculty to assist you in your progress as a music educator. Numerous scholarships are available, and we have a brochure when you exit the class today. If you want to teach Kodai or from Suzuki, or even Dalpros, you must become certified. There are intricacies to each of these methods that comes only with study at an accredited facility. Do yourself and your future students a favor and learn the Ward method correctly. Secondly, ideally, Mrs. Ward recommends daily instruction just like every subject area. In today's society, this is quite difficult, but not impossible. Ask your supervisor what kind of flexibility there might be. If you can't meet every day, what about 2 or 3 times a week? Our ensemble currently meets once a week. However, we do have home practice assignments so that I know that they do not lose their formation. There are so many resources available to assist you with home practice. I recommend CyreneFactory.com, my husband is the founder. But I send them assignments where they record themselves and submit it to me so I can hear them vocally singing as well as seeing how their reading is going. But there's online music theory training, there's online musical games, and there's just simple vocal practice if you send them home with the right exercises to practice with or without music. Finally, making your tips to make your Ward program successful include proper communication with other faculty, staff, especially if you do meet more than once a week. Communication with parents and other applicant people on why the method is invaluable so that you can gain their support. And of course, prayer as well. There is a lot of flexibility to the method and is completely adaptable to many situations. Don't be negative because you can't meet every day. Be excited because you're teaching students a treasure of inestimable value. So I wanted to let you know that's the end of the presentation. There's a couple little things, and then we'll have time for questions, and the students will sing one final selection for you. On the back table, there's a sheet for those of you that might be interested in becoming Ward certified. Right now, Ward 1 is going on at Catholic University this same week, unfortunately. But I think there might be a mid-year offering, so if you are interested in that, if we could get your name, that would be terrific. Catholic, you also submitted some brochures for each of you to take. They donated them and said if any of you wanted to donate towards the brochures, that it would go actually directly to the student's trip. So if you're feeling so generous, that would be wonderful. So now we do have a few minutes for questions, if any of you have them. Yes, ma'am.
Schedule-wise, how long does a class take? If it's simply perhaps
20 to 30 minutes.
Wow.
If you're a fast-paced teacher and the kids are good listeners, 20. 30, if you're at a classroom or if you're at a school where they're bringing you to the classroom, you probably want a 5-minute break with each team just for scheduling purposes, getting the kids in and out of the door. We did 30 minutes. That's the school we're at. Yes.
At what age or grade do you recommend for 1, for 2, for 3?
Sure. I started halfway through kindergarten for book 1. Some people wait till 1st grade. I figured if I could get the children to come into the classroom organized and understand just how school works, how life works when you're 5, by January that they were ready to go. But otherwise you could wait until 1st grade as well.
Yeah, I noticed in your modern notation, the time signature, you had 2 and a quarter note. I'm presuming that's so they don't get confused about the numbers.
That's correct. It's weaning them into it, and then eventually it will be 2/4, and they'll understand that it's quarter notes.
Okay.
It's baby steps. Although many of them already know that, just because they're extremely good instrumentalists as well. Yes.
What about men who are teaching Ward? Because our voices are lower than necessarily falsetto, or how do we adapt?
Sure, you could. Some of the gentlemen I know also use like a recorder. With the new syllable, it sounds very sweet-like. Mrs. Ward didn't like piano, which is why she used the pitch pipe.
Right.
But if you have a wind sound, you could do falsetto if you wanted. But I would recommend maybe just get a little recorder or something like that, so it's the same air sound versus the percussive piano. The piano's fine too.
Do after-school programs work well, and if so, like, kind of practicality of maybe like a 20 or 30-minute, couple times a week? Have you seen anything like that and how well it works?
Yes, we actually had an after-school, we had board during the day, plus an after-school advanced goal. And it works fine as long as you're talking to your faculty and parents, that they know basically what time to show up and when to be there. But if you can do more than once a week, if you can get 2 or 3 times a week, they grow exponentially. They grow so fast, and the things that they learn, I mean, I wish I could see that. They live like, some of them live 40 miles apart from each other. So practically, we can't right now. But if you do an after-school program, there's one in Northern Virginia I know about that did that. And there were kids from all different areas as well, and they did fine.
What time was it? Do you know?
They gave them a chance to get there, so like maybe, are you at a school or are you at a different facility?
I'm at a parish that has, we have a children's choir about that size, and they're very advanced as well because of war. But we've got some homeschoolers in the parish, and then we've got public schools in the parish with interest. And finding a time that works for everybody is not.
It's hard. If you could keep the children right there, I would say maybe an hour after the school day gets out. That way, moms can give them. I know how I am.
Right.
Give them
They
a
need to
snack,
eat.
or
Right.
something, and drop them off. And like that 4 to 5 o'clock time slot works really well if you have kids coming from different directions. But what time does the school day get out?
They get out at 3.
Yeah, if you could do 4, and I know some people will live closer, but maybe you could have an activity.
But I'm thinking a
for them.
shorter period of time, many times a week, instead of the hour and a half, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So, just curious what works for you.
Yeah, we do an hour right now, although I'm gonna bump them up to an hour and 15 next year, just to do a little more repertoire, in addition to the word class. But that's just because we all only meet once a week. Again, flexibility, if you're creative, Richard Ward, of course, not it every day, but we all love music every day. But, you have to be practical with families and different situations with people that live far away, too. Yeah.
I guess, in addition to the class, which is fabulous, and I teach at a school, and it's successful in that way, but one of the challenges I found is about working the repertoire in to have enough time to work on it and get it to like a good level. How long did it take for them to learn that Kyrie? And do you have any, does your group have any like commitments for masses or things like that? And how long does it take for you to prepare them?
We prepared for a full sum Novus Ordo Mass in 8 weeks. And there were a couple others. We did not know Creed. We did not know Gloria. There were a couple things that they did not know. But basically, you have to kind of, in my opinion, supplement just a little bit the performance repertoire. Mrs. Ward would be rolling in her grave if she heard that. But like for instance, we had some audio recordings to help us with some of the polyphony that we learned as well. But we tried to learn as much as we could through reading, because if you teach the children to read, we can learn 6 songs in 8 weeks, and they can sing them the rest of their life and love them. But if you give them the tools to read and sing the music, there are infinite possibilities. So as long as you're giving them the tools to keep the education portion going, I think you're fine with the supplementary.
What did you do with your kindergartners or first graders when it came to reading text?
Reading text?
Yeah.
It's very simple in Word 1, and there's a lot of songs without text. So you're only working on rhythm and or solfege, the notes. There's a lot of songs without text, which really helps them. That's why first grade, I'd say most music educators would say first grade, but I was a little overzealous.
That's beautiful.
Yes.
What do you do with only 1 or 2 voices that have already changed to the lower register?
Hi, Peter.
But I didn't hear Peter's voice separate from the other higher tones.
Peter has a really good falsetto. He joined us and then things started to change, and I was not going to not let him on the team. So, as you transition, you're going to have to let them sing. I mean, they can do some matching falsetto. He has a very good falsetto.
But what if they don't have a falsetto?
Then have them sing in their octaves if you're gonna, and that's fine in class. I do like the different ranges of the octaves. So you could give the lower octaves a chance to do something by themselves. Like they could intone the Kyrie if their pitches, I mean, it depends on how many notes they have. I know, at some point they only have 3 or 4 notes. But that's something you could do is give them part of in your math, have them intone the song. Give them something so that they feel confident about themselves. Some people like octaves. Locally where we are, they do a lot of octave singing. I personally like the change of it, just for your ears. But I would just give them a little something so that they feel good about themselves and confident.
So do you schedule when they sing them as they're ready, or do you have your schedule from after that you have to meet?
We planned it this year, and next year we're going to do 4. We'll plan it ahead of time. 4, 2 in the fall, and then 2 in the spring masses. And I know some of you have masses every week. So again, the whole preparation and all that, I completely understand it. We're a little bit blessed to have a little more time to prepare. But I would plan ahead and then base your lessons off. Like, look in the book and say, okay, hey, we're going to learn the Kyrie, so that's at least one thing down. But there's some other wonderful pieces in there that you could use independently. Try to use it in your classes as much as you can.
I work mostly with college students, everything, but most of them have almost basically no education whatsoever in music. So I'm starting from ground zero with most of them. Like I could teach them to sing. Like they're like, yes, I want to sing in that. We've never sung before, let alone sung Gregorian. So is there something similar for people who are a little older?
You could push ahead. I mean, definitely the intonation thing. So obviously, all generations use the intonation. But things like that, you could do a fast-paced version of it. I mean, they're going to get counting, keep me a steady beat, which kindergartners work very hard at keeping a steady beat. They're going to get that very quickly. However, some of the intonation things, like half steps, 3 and 5, would be difficult for them. So some of those things, hey, this half step is also in the chant that we're learning. Even though we have a chant recording we're practicing with, and we're learning that by rote, they can at least take some of the concepts, the mature concepts.
You think there's certain things are universal as appropriate for all ages?
Absolutely, yeah. And then just bump them ahead as fast. I mean, when I was at the school, we would get transfer students, and they're coming into class, and these kids already know all this stuff, so you kind of have to work and get everybody up to speed, as fast as you can.
There's a word method, step-by-step, like Cantor workbook or something that breaks down what you're asking. It comes from the Word School or something like that. It's got the word name on it. It's
That's
really
a chart, yeah. You can skip the easy stuff. How are we doing on time? Let's end with our final selection. We're going to do a Colluquium for you. And I'd be happy to talk with you if you want something to use as well. I just know that they have something in here afterwards. We'll go over here after we're all done. We'll put the lights up as well. And be happy to visit afterwards if any of you have any other questions. And this is an Ave Maria by Colluquium.
Thank you.
really touched me when I was reading about the ward and figuring out if that was what we were going to use, is that her quote is that all may sing. It's so everybody can sing, even if you're an adult and just starting. It's not for